I'm Will Noonan, and you're listening to Tom Clark's Main Event.
This is Daddy Show. Step off.
Hey, what is up? Welcome to the program. Thank you for tuning in. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Tom Clark, and you are listening to Tom Clark's Main Event. This is episode number 15 of the podcast today, and as always, we're coming to you from the very spacious Boink Studios here in lovely North Carolina. And from the very beginning here, we want to extend to you the customary Laurel and Hardy handshake. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support as always. Thank you for reading. For those of you that know me, you know what I do. I am a WWE feature columnist. I'm 2 or 3 different websites. I kind of lose count sometimes, and I'm basically writing 8 days a week. I try to cram that into a life full of just being awesome, and it's a tough gig, man. It's a burden that I have to carry, but you know what? I'm up to it. Because here on the program, we do everything we can to entertain, educate, and enlighten. That's what we do. That's what we do here on the program. This is called the Main Event after all. I have to bring my A game every time. I have to be Brock Lesnar every time out. I just don't have a choice. So during the course of this program, I'm going to kick the living crap out of you and make you bleed whether you want to or not. And then I'm going to look at your blood and wipe it on my chest. And it's going to be really disgusting. And man, that went south really quick, didn't it? If you've never listened before, don't be too creeped out. I'm not that creepy. Depending upon who you ask, I am not that creepy. Some of you out there are smiling. A couple of you are really smiling right now because, is Tom creepy? Well, no. Well, not too bad. You'll find out, I guess, right? So, okay, listen, no more time wasted. We're going to get to this. What is the main event this time around? Of course, obviously, the main event this time is WrestleMania 31. As of this recording, we are a few days removed from the grandest spectacle of them all if you're a professional wrestling fan. This is our Super Bowl. This is the biggest night of the year for us. This is the last game. This is the 7th game of the World Series. I mean, this is it, man. This is what it all comes down to if you're a professional wrestling fan. And especially if you're a fan of WWE. No matter if you love that company or hate them, no one can deny their ability to put on a show. No one can deny their ability to deliver when it counts the most. And in my opinion, WrestleMania 31 delivered. Okay? By this time, you've probably read some analysis. You've probably maybe heard some things, some rumors, some tidbits from backstage, from what went into the booking of the program. And you've likely listened to some podcasts. I have as well. I've had a good solid 3 days of listening, of reading, and of writing, myself, of course. And honestly, I've been very surprised at some of the reactions I've read. I've been very surprised at some of the reactions I've heard. And we're going to address that as we get into the program here. But let's not waste any time. We got to cram 4.5 hours into probably a 1-hour podcast here. So let's do what we can, folks. Episode 15, Main Event, WrestleMania 31. Here we go. The pre-show. We're not going to spend a ton of time on this because I don't think anyone has. And this is in no way to disrespect any of the guys in the pre-show. But I don't think anything in the pre-show really set the woods on fire. Of course, we had the tag team championship match with Cesaro and Kid defending against Los Matadores, the Usos, and the New Day. It's tough to talk about that last team because the chant is now coming across New Day sucks. And you heard some of it on Monday Night Raw. There's a lot of hate being leveled at that team. But be that as it may, this tag team match was what we expected from a four-way dance. Cesaro and Kid retain. There was nothing really explosive about this. This is a match that we could have seen on Raw or SmackDown, in my opinion. Not to say that anyone dropped the ball or no one brought a lot of energy. They did, but you can only expect so much for the Raw opener. If you get booked on the show, no matter where you are, you're going to give everything you have, and I think those guys did that. I was okay by the outcome of this match. I thought the effort was there, and I thought everyone did what they could to get over. And I thought the match, really, in my opinion, maybe should have been just the Usos, because they've been such an incredible tag team over the past several months. They're it for that division. Best tag team in that company right now, in my opinion. So maybe it could have been just Cesaro and Kid defending against the Usos, but when it's all said and done, all four teams did what they could to make it work, and I thought it was a pretty good match. Moving on to the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale, and yes, I'm very happy that they've decided to continue this and try to make it a tradition inside of WrestleMania, rather than put it inside of another pay-per-view or anything of that nature. I'm glad that they're keeping it where it began last year, which is the grandest stage of them all. A lot of typical Battle Royal moments, the close calls, getting thrown over the top rope, and things of that nature. Right off the bat, Curtis Axel gets thrown out. Has the Axelmania t-shirt, kind of ripping on Hogan a little bit, but selling the fact that he still has not been eliminated from the Royal Rumble, which I think is pretty funny. It works in a lot of respects. The crowd didn't want him gone. When they threw him out, and it was a funny spot, they body surfed him out of the ring or whatever, but the crowd didn't want him gone. He is getting over, like it or not. But the question is this just going to continue to be a joke gimmick? Are they ever going to give Curtis anything resembling a legitimate, straight up, knock your socks off pro wrestling match? And is Curtis capable of that in the first place? I think he is, but how are we ever going to know if all they do is just put him in a pair of clown shoes and have him go out there and dance for the crowd? So, I don't know, folks. To me, the jury's still out on Curtis, what kind of a foothold he's going to gain in that company. All due respect to Curtis and everything, but I would not be surprised if 6 months to a year down the road they're letting him go. To me, he's one of those guys that's very talented. He's got a pedigree behind him. He's got the right frame of mind. It looks like he has the right attitude. It looks like he's putting forth the effort in the ring. But the problem is that, they're only going to go so far for the mid-card guys, and how far are they really going to go for him in terms of getting him where they want him to be, where they think he should be. I hope it works out. All the best to Curtis, and I hope that everything comes through for him as it needs to. But the guys in the Battle Royal eliminated him very early on. He's the first guy out. So some key eliminations, and just as an observation as the show was going here, the sun was in their eyes. And that's an odd sight. If you follow WrestleMania every year, you're used to being in a nighttime environment, be on the East Coast where the sun's already going down or on its way. But you know what? You do what you need to do in order to put on a show. The show must go on. You still have to get out there, and you still have to give an A-plus effort no matter what the weather is. It's like the Super Bowl. If it's raining or snowing or it's hell or it's thick fog, you go out there and you play the game, and that's what these guys did. But some key eliminations in the Battle Royal. Hideo Itami, who won on NXT or earned the right to be from NXT on the grand stage of WrestleMania 31, is eliminated by The Big Show. The crowd hated it. Number one, because they like Itami. Number two, because they hate The Big Show. And why such an early elimination is the question for me. Why was his star sort of snuffed out so very early on? Good question. Another NXT standout, former NXT standout, The Ascension, eliminated Mark Henry. That's a big deal, right? The Ascension was then later thrown out by Ryback, who honestly I had pegged to win this thing. I thought this was Ryback's match. I thought that the angle they worked up through the year with Ryback getting fired along with Ziggler and along with Eric Rowan, I thought that had set the stage for Ryback to be dominant. The crowd was into Ryback. They were popping for him pretty well. And I think he was the favorite to win this thing, but more on that a little bit. Cesaro eliminated Kane. Big deal. Cesaro was however, eliminated by The Big Show. Not such a big deal in terms of, again, Big Show's hated. Cesaro was respected. And it did feel like, man, we're just going to keep feeding Big Show here, aren't we? And then Ryback, the guy, of course, that a lot of people pegged to win the thing, myself included, was thrown out by Big Show. Ryback was the favorite, in my opinion, to win this whole thing. It comes down to the Miz and Mizdow, who finally turns on the Miz after months and months and months of build-up. He finally decided to go his own way, become his own man. So it came down to the Mizdow and Big Show. I'm calling him the Mizdow. Did you catch that? I'm going to hope now he goes back to Sandow. Or maybe get something different altogether. I'll be okay with that. But the Mizdow turns on the Miz. And then it's left between Damien and Big Show. And, of course, Big Show wins. No one wanted this. All due respect to Show. I've always been one of those guys that speaks up for Big Show and defends him when everyone else is sort of trashing him, to be honest with you. But no one wanted this. It was such a disappointment. When they saw that Damien was turning, when he was turning on the Miz, it was the right time to put Damien over. But, of course, they did not do that. I don't think it's going to hurt Damien in the long run. But at the same time, it would have been really nice if he could have been the man to win the Battle Royal. Okay, folks, so the show begins. The main card, the Intercontinental title ladder match. It's everything we thought it would be and some more. It was exciting, dramatic, full of high spots, energetic. It was a great way to open the night. It really was. It was the best way to get the actual card on pace and moving in the right direction. You always want your curtain jerk for your main event to be high octane, especially on a big show. You want it to be high octane. You want it to set the tone for the rest of the night. When they started putting together this ladder match and all the pieces started to fit together like a puzzle, especially when Brian got into it, I said, you know what, this will be the curtain jerk. It has to be. It has to be. And what an interesting dynamic, by the way. What an interesting sight to end WrestleMania 30 with Brian celebrating with the championship, and then you begin WrestleMania 31 with Brian celebrating with the championship. Isn't that something? Spoiler alert, if you don't know what happened at WrestleMania, Brian did go over in this match. So there you go. Don't worry, we've got more. Don't panic on me here. But Daniel Bryan did win. It was a great moment for him considering last year's Mania. Of course, as we said, when he main evented the program. And then, of course, when he inducted Connor into the Hall of Fame the night before WrestleMania 31. If you've not watched the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, go back and watch it. And be forewarned, it's a tearjerker. It was a very emotional night. I dare say if Brock Lesnar had been watching the Hall of Fame induction ceremony, he'd been crying like a baby. And I'm not saying that with tongue-in-cheek. I'm saying it to be factual. I mean, it was really, really tough to watch. That little kid got what he deserved, recognition on the worldwide stage. And hopefully that recognition leads to other things to help for cancer research for other kids who are younger than him, who are struggling and suffering as we speak. So let's keep that stuff in mind. Is this show business that we're watching? Yes. Is it all entertainment? Yes. But let's don't forget there are some very real people out there that are attached to the product, that watch the product, that celebrate it, that follow it. People of all ages, all sort of ethnic backgrounds, cultural backgrounds. I mean, it spans the globe. And it's one of the things that makes me proud to be a wrestling fan, to be honest with you. And I always have been, always will be. So, but it was an experience to watch that. And of course, Brian was a huge part of that. Here's my takeaway from this match. Again, a lot of high spots. I thought everyone delivered exactly the way they needed to. I thought that Luke Harper looked very good. He's one of the best big men in that company right now. People often compare him to Bruiser Brody, and no disrespect intended to Bruiser, but I think that honestly that Harper is more of a solid athlete. I think he's quicker on his feet, and I think that there's a little bit more charisma maybe. And I say that with all due respect because I grew up watching old school guys, and I grew up watching Bruiser, and was a fan of the brutality he could deliver. And people talk about Brock Lesnar. You want to see brutality? Go back and watch Bruiser Brody versus Abdullah the Butcher. That's some brutality, brother. Imagine the three-way dance between those two guys and Brock Lesnar. My God, imagine Brock, German suplexing Abdullah 16 times. He'll be feeling that tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? He'll be working out anyway. So I say that with all due respect. But I think Harper's the man. And also, you can't discount Dean, that nasty spill he took over the top rope to break the ladder. That was an awesome sight. And everyone else in this match, Stardust, I thought Cody Rhodes came up big. And Dolph Ziggler, he does what he does. He always delivers. He steals the show. It's his shtick. Especially the night after on Monday Night Raw with him and versus Daniel Bryan. Go back and watch that match if you haven't had the opportunity to, because it's classic, instant classic, really good match. But Bad News Barrett loses the championship, and of course Barrett puts forth a great effort himself. It was a solid match all the way around. Great way to open the card. And my takeaway from this match is that Bryan, as the Intercontinental Champion, will elevate the title back to its former glory. He can work main events. He can be an attraction. He can be he's a top name. And he will bring respect back to the strap because that's what that belt deserves. It was a smart move by WWE to get Bryan back in a prime spot because in one fell swoop they made the fans happy and they get the spotlight on the title, which also makes the fans happy. It's a win-win for the crowd. It's a win-win for those of us watching at home who still believe that Bryan got the shaft and did not get a prime main event spot at this year's WrestleMania, something that should have happened, that should have been booked months ago, but of course, as we all know, it did not go down that way. Second big match on the card, Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins. We've got the face versus the future, right? This was a good match. It was very solid all the way around. Excellent match, actually. Rollins looked really good and proved he is a main event guy. He's such a good heel. He stood toe-to-toe with Orton, took it on, and gave it right back. Here's my issue with this match, my problem with it. The match happened before on free TV, and we've seen these two guys touch each other quite a bit. For me, it was a problem in terms of fan buildup. It was a problem in terms of getting the crowd excited, to generate enough excitement to get that crowd to actually care about these two guys touching each other at WrestleMania. That was my big thing with this match, is that we've sort of seen it in several different ways, and they've tussled a little bit and they've gotten each other's faces and things like that. But we had the background, of course, of Seth turning on Randy, then of Randy turning on the Authority. So we had some nice background, some nice backstory to this. They told the story in the ring, which I thought was excellent, and I don't think Randy gets enough credit for the work he puts in, to be quite honest with you, because there's one thing you can always do. You can always depend on Randy to deliver. And it's something that was said by Punk in the past, when CM Punk called Randy a mechanic, that he sort of did the same thing every time out, and that's not how Punk worked, you know. And that's understandable. Every guy has their own routine. Every guy has their own style of working in the ring. But the thing you can say about Orton is he's dependable. You know what I mean? I don't know if I've come away from a Randy Orton match saying, oh, God, that was bad. I think that he's always solid from top to bottom. I've heard the criticisms made recently that maybe he's not as up for it as maybe he could be. But I don't think I saw that this time around. I think Seth is a great opponent for him. And considering what happened with Seth winning the title later on in the match, or later on the night, spoiler alert, I think that that sets up the table perfectly for Orton versus Rollins later on for the championship. So I thought this match provided a nice backdrop to that. Again, it was very good, delivered on every level. The finish was amazing. The curb stomp that elevated Rollins up into the air. I mean, he got air like Jordan, right? So Orton could catch him in the RKO. Well done, man. The crowd popped off that. I popped off that. I came up off my couch on that one. Practically dropped my laptop on the floor, but it was... what a great moment. What a great finish. It was exactly what that match needed to sort of put the exclamation mark on what turned out to be a really, really good match. Okay, folks, so we're getting into the main event portion of the card here, all due respect to Randy and Seth. Sting versus Triple H, the match that the company billed as the game versus the Vigilante. The Vigilante's cute. It's something they chose to call him because I guess they didn't want to go the route of calling him the Icon. It's tough to call Sting the Icon when he's in the ring with WWE's own Icon, I guess. Maybe that's why they didn't do it. Maybe it's because TNA called him that. WCW called him that. Who knows? But to me, Sting is the Icon. Sting is a legend. And I'm an old school territory guy. So I saw Sting when he first came to the old NWA, working for Crockett down south here. And I was a fan from very early on. And I remember Sting from the blonde hair and the neon tie. I actually saw him in the high school gym where I went to high school at when the NWA was still in all its glory and was running every venue you can imagine, the armories, the Legion halls, the high schools, the fairgrounds, and they were still dominating in the industry. And so I've been a fan of Sting for a very long time, fan of his work. Here's my issues. Isn't that awesome that I put all that great positivity to begin with, and I start out with a big sigh, and then I lead into the match? Bear with me here, folks. This is going to go somewhere, I assure you. Sting was out first. which, I don't know, it's kind of an odd moment, especially in broad daylight, because Sting is dark, mysterious. Again, he's the vigilante. He's the hero of the night. Yes, he's the first guy out. It's sort of, it puts the spin on the heel comes out first. Rule of thumb in pro wrestling has always been the heel comes out first unless he's the champion, then he comes out second. And I can vividly remember watching WWE programming, and this has been, of course, several years ago now. Lord knows how long it's been. But I remember watching it was either a Raw or a SmackDown, and the babyface came out first, and it was not a title match. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like, I was really stunned by that. Like, there's certain things that as a pro wrestling fan, things that you understand go on in the business and that you are accustomed to seeing all the time. Subtle things like the tag team ropes always being attached to the pole and then suddenly they're not there. For those of us who pay attention to things like that, we know when something's different. We know when something's changed. So that's what we were coming down to in this match. For me, was that Sting was out first. And I'm like, dude, I don't know if I like that. You know what I mean? But I got over it. I got over the cheesy, Bruce Lee inspired entrance. I don't know where they were going with that. I guess maybe they just wanted Sting to have a grand entrance, but man, did it look out of place. I would much rather have had the orchestra sitting there dressed in black, as we saw in the promo before Sting got there for the 2K15 video game. Honestly, the full orchestra painted up and had that beautiful music flowing through there in a very dark and very somber tone. Then here comes Sting. But all of that could have took place after Hunter had entered the ring, in my opinion. Can't let that go, right? And then, of course, you had Triple H with the Terminator entrance. So all I can do is really sniff on that one. My apologies if it hurts your ears. I mean, I get it, man. I get that they're hyping the movie and all this, that, and the other. And Arnold and Hunter, BFF now, I guess, or have been for a while, whatever. They braid each other's hair and stuff. But, my issue with it is that, okay, we're promoting the movie. That's great. Can we just get to this match? I mean, I like the spectacle of it. Don't get me wrong. But I've been waiting for so many years and for so long to see Sting get into the WWE ring and to go toe-to-toe with one of their guys. And to see it happen on the grandest stage of them all, that was a really big deal. Okay, so the match itself, it was an old school match. I think we can say that. It was nice and tight. I didn't see a lot of crazy spots. I didn't see a lot of, okay, I've not seen this before. What's he doing? Kind of thing. I thought both guys did, and I don't want to say predictable because predictable has a negative connotation attached to it. But I thought that it was exactly what I expected. The crowd was into it. For anyone out there who's ever made the comment that, well, would Sting's popularity translate to today's crowd who's never seen him perform? Many of them have never seen him in the ring. Yeah, duh. He's been over from the day he came into WWE. He was over like gangbusters at WrestleMania 31. They were in it. They loved it. A lot of them were on their feet for the entire time that they were in the ring together. The crowd fully supported Sting the entire time. They had his back. He no-sells the knee, the Harley Race knee, which got the crowd amped up. It was a great moment. It was a memorable match. Sting had that nice near finish, that close call when he got the arm up at like 2 3/4. So there was a lot of moments in this match, Sting beating his chest and screaming and howling and getting the crowd pumped up. Triple H having to take a break and roll outside the ring and sort of rethink his position, rethink his game plan. I thought it was a nice touch. Triple H, for all the criticism he catches, and he's going to catch some here again for me shortly, Triple H is a very smart guy. He knows how to pace a match. He knows all about ring psychology, and I thought he delivered with Sting, and I thought this match was well worth the price of admission. My issue came at the end. The NWO versus DX. Why? And for any of you out there who are saying, oh, Tom, what are you, crazy, man? This was a great moment in the history of that company, the history of that event. Here's my issue. I don't have that soft and warm, fuzzy place in my heart for the Attitude Era. I respect it for what it was, and I recognize it for being probably not probably, but I'm sure the most profitable time in the history of professional wrestling, where a lot of guys made a lot of money very quickly. And it was all about ratings, it was all about competition, it was all about one-upping the other guy. It was all about giving the crowd what they wanted, about shocking the crowd, about doing things to to bring people to the event, to sell tickets, to put butts in the seats. And I respect it, and I understand what it was, and I see it for what it was. And I see all of that, and again, I recognize it. But to me, I have a really hard time sitting back saying, oh, it was by far the best era of the business. I have a hard time with that, man, because again, I grew up during the territory days of Jim Crockett Promotions, and to me, that was the golden age of professional wrestling, when you had the Horsemen, and you had Ric Flair, and you had Dusty Rhodes fighting against the Horsemen, you had Nikita Koloff turning babyface, and you had Ivan Koloff there, and you had both Express teams, Midnight and Rock and Roll, and you had Wahoo, and you had all these guys, Jimmy Valiant, you had all these guys just entertaining the crowd to pieces, man. I mean, they brought their A game each and every night. That company was so good, and they did it on a worldwide level. And to me, that was the best era in the business. And I'll always have a soft, warm, fuzzy place in my heart for that. Okay, but maybe not so much for the Attitude Era. But again, respect to the guys that came up during that time and made some money during that time. So I can see why they would want to throw the NWO and DX in there, but I just don't know if I was with it. Here's the thing. The NWO was the group that Sting tried to stop in WCW, yet who do they send out to help Sting? So if you're a purist, as we like to call ourselves, and that word's been criticized 6 ways from Sunday, as well it should sometimes, I think, but if there is such thing as a wrestling purist, as guys who want to stick to the storyline and believe that kayfabe should still be alive and well, which it's dead in that company, has been for years. But to me, that didn't make any sense, and I didn't care about that. And honestly, I believe the NWO was going to turn on them at any moment. I really thought that was going to happen because it's what they do. They stab people in the back all the time. You know what I mean? Shawn coming out, super kicking Sting. I mean, it just all felt like, man, we have to throw the kitchen sink at this match at this point, We have to throw 6 guys in there. We had to keep adding, we added weapons. We had the bat breaking the sledgehammer, which to me was actually kind of a cool moment because it throws into question what exactly is that bat made out of. So I was actually okay with that. But I don't know, man. It just felt like let's throw a whole lot of guys at this because we're not sure how to take this thing home. And to me, that was just kind of an odd deal. But I see where they were going with it, and I know what they were trying to do. They're trying to include the history of the Attitude Era, of the Monday Night Wars and all that stuff. But here's my issue, and I've wrote a column about it since then. Was this all about WWE going over on WCW? Was this all about Vince once again getting the last laugh on Ted Turner's company, besting the NWO, besting Sting, besting the company that tried to put him out of business? Was that why Sting did not go over? And I have to ask this question myself. Was this a waste of time? Was it just putting Hunter over again, proving that fans are right about him? Think of all the negativity. Think of all the buzz that's always been around Triple H, that he doesn't put anyone over, he's out for himself, that he's, he's self-serving, he's selfish, he's all about himself and no one else, and he does it at the expense of the product, and that in his version, what's best for business is putting himself over. I mean, honestly, is that what you believe? Should we have seen this coming? Honestly, because Sting had the upper hand. Think about this. Sting had the upper hand the entire time since he debuted in WWE. The Authority never laid a finger on him. Not one time. They never touched him. Okay? Besides Triple H, no one got their hands on him. He never got a scratch. It was a perfect setup for Triple H to win. And maybe we were crazy to not see that. I was very disappointed by the outcome of this match. And while it is true that wins and losses don't always matter, this is something that I didn't think it should happen. And as we talked about when we opened the program, you guys know what I do. I've written a column on this. Feel free to check it out. And I'm going to plug it right now just so everyone's aware. TomClarkBR.wix.com/blog. No, I've not bought my own domain yet because honestly, I'm cheap and I'm lazy. But the title of the column is Sting, the Monday Night Wars Last Casualty. And there may be a podcast coming up on that very, very shortly, maybe sooner than you think. But a lot of my feelings and thoughts on this match are expanded upon in that column. And I think that, again, I was very disappointed. How do you bring Sting in for this only to have him lose? What a lot of people are saying was his first and maybe only match which I don't know if I buy that. I think he's still got a good 2-3 matches left in the tank, honestly. If I were him, I think I'd be crazy to turn down an opportunity to work a match again, unless, all they have him do is lose. In which case, he shouldn't be working anything for anybody in that company. Just my take. Okay, so we get that, and we go from that to the big spectacle. And unless I've got the timing mixed up on the card here, I believe this is where the song came into play. Someone correct me if I'm wrong there. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it because I didn't care. The mute button comes in really handy, and I could care less. You want to impress me? Put Metallica on the WrestleMania stage. That impresses me. And have him do one song and then disappear. That way I can get back to the wrestling, which I wanted to see to begin with. So there you are. AJ and Paige versus the Bella Twins. This came at a very good spot on the card. I don't care what anyone says, and I've listened to some podcasts since this happened that really criticized where this match came into play on the card, but it was after Sting versus Hunter, but it was also after the electronic noise that some people in attendance called rap music, or called hip-hop, or called mainstream. I don't even know what it's supposed to be called. I don't really even care. But to me, you had that buffer after Sting and Hunter, because going back to Sting and Hunter for a second, go back and watch the pin. No one wanted the pin. You know how the crowd usually counts along? No one would count. No one counted. They didn't want Sting to lose. No one wanted Sting to lose this match. And then the handshake happened, which was very, very odd. Okay, the handshake happened, and the crowd didn't pop off that at all. Usually a handshake elicits a crowd cheer. No one cheered because they didn't want to see it, and they didn't expect it because it was a little ridiculous. Okay, so if you'd had the women come on, bam, 2 minutes after that, no way, no chance, they would never have gotten over. But you have the silly little song and dance out there, and the little, Showtime thing, whatever it was you want to call that nonsense. So it sort of leveled the crowd back out. And at that point, it sort of cleansed their palate for the next bout, which was the women, which I thought, again, was good timing. Here it is. This match was well received by the crowd. I thought they popped in all the right places. I thought the crowd did exactly what they're supposed to do in this match. I get a little tired of fans being really, really, really smart, or maybe too smart for their own good, because no one can just enjoy the product anymore. I'm a writer and an analyst, and I do this stuff all the time. But when I go to a live event, that part of me sits at home. I know what I'm seeing when I see a match. I can kind of call the moves before they happen. That comes from being in the business anyway. You sort of know the pacing and what's going to happen next. But that doesn't mean I sit there and don't enjoy myself. That's insane. There's people that do that stuff. I don't get that. Oh, I have to cheer for Cesaro because I'm a smart wrestling fan. Oh, dude, really? Just get over yourself, man. Stop ruining it for everyone else. Just because you want to sit there and chant boring during a really good match because it's a rest hold, dude, shut up and get over yourself. Go find something else to watch because you're wasting my time. Crowds like that I can't stand. I like when crowds cooperate with the match in terms of where they're supposed to be, when they're supposed to be there. Because if you have two guys who are doing a proper build and they're really delivering on every level, the crowd should pop when they're supposed to and react when they're supposed to, and that's the way it should go. But I thought the crowd did everything they should have done in this match, honestly, especially for it to be a Divas match. Here's my problem. Even though I like the match, and I think AJ's submission hold is just lights out, one of the best in the business right now because it's very realistic. In my opinion, it's very believable. If she were heavier, can you imagine? No one would ever be able to break that hold because all that body weight pushing down her opponent. Oh my God, that would just be amazing. My issue with it was, what purpose did it serve? I mean, where's it going to go after this? Well, is it going to further anyone's immediate WWE career? I mean, honestly, is it? Does it just keep the women sort of catty and snapping at each other all the time? I mean, I don't even know. But, to get on the WrestleMania card is a big deal. I'm glad the match didn't get bumped for some reason because a couple of those segments went long, and we'll get into that later. I mean, I don't know. But at the same time, again, I'm glad they got on the card. I'm glad that they made it to the big show. All four of these girls have done a lot throughout the calendar year to make it to the show, so I'm glad they did. Okay, after this, we cut to the Hall of Fame induction. The review and the rewind, and then we bring the Hall of Fame inductees out on the grand stage. Finally, Randy Savage is inducted into the Hall of Fame. Even though he didn't headline It was great that he finally got what he deserved. It was a long time coming. Nash headlined the event, of course, this year, and that's okay. They have a soft spot in their heart for the Click and for the NWO and for DX and all that. It didn't have to be this way. It didn't have to be a posthumous induction. He could pop the crowd and put a nice little bow on it. We talked about Connor and his father. Connor's father was there to accept the award, and it was a touching moment at the Hall of Fame for the crowd and for that family. What a great story for that kid that didn't deserve to go that soon and should still be with us today. What an amazing story if that kid had recovered. Can you imagine? That's tough to talk about without getting teary-eyed, I got to be honest with you. So we go from the Hall of Fame induction, the inductees coming out, to John Cena versus Rusev. That's right, your boy, Captain America versus the big Russian threat, the Russian war machine, Rusev. Great, and speaking of war machine, great entrance for Rusev. The music, the marching, the tank. Oh my God. All we needed was Nikolai Volkov singing the national anthem and Ivan Volkov driving the tank. I mean, honestly, that would have put the exclamation point on this deal. What an amazing entrance that was. Very impressive. And exactly what Rusev deserved. His character deserved this, honestly. Rusev is big, powerful. He's a strong guy with a fierce personality, a punishing assault. He's growing on me. It took a while, but he's growing on me because he's an old school heel. You know what I mean? You could put Rusev back in the territories and he would look great. He would get booked because he's got the look, he's got the intensity, he's got a very believable character. And again, put him with the Russians. It would have been a 4-man group instead of a 3-man group in the NWA. Wouldn't that have been something? Nikita tagging with Rusev, that would have been great. And again, he's an old school heel. He went to the top rope in this one, which the commentators put over pretty well. It's an impressive flying headbutt. John Cena, with a statement made by yours truly, which I never make in response to anything John Cena does in the ring, was, "Oh my God, did you see that?" First time I've ever said that in a John Cena match, for sure. A rebound stunner off the second rope. What? Who does that? John Cena, apparently. Somewhere along the way, somebody said, "John, it'd be great if you used a different move this time. It is WrestleMania." So maybe he did. I don't know, man. But it was a cool move, and I thought it connected, popped the crowd pretty well. It's pretty cool. Bottom line, what's my takeaway here? The undefeated Rusev gets his first loss, but Cena's win is not a surprise. Did it surprise you? Huh? Boo to you, okay? It's the same move as Daniel Bryan with the Intercontinental Championship. It puts the U.S. title back on the main event scene. Now John and Bryan can put the belts over, and it's definitely a win-win for fans of the secondary titles. We always have a big heartache and a big headache over, oh man, the secondary titles don't get any love. No one cares about the other championships anymore. All it's about is about the main title. That's not fair. Boo-hoo all day long. Okay? But now you can't really say that because both secondary straps are on the shoulders of guys that can definitely take them to the next level. And honestly, this match is probably setting up the split between Lana and Rusev, which we saw coming the day these two debuted together, because you got Rusev, who's big and hairy and nasty, and Lana, who they're going to put on WWE.com and in photo shoots, and if they still had to deal with Playboy, she'd have been naked by now. No disrespect intended, but you're going to sit there and tell me that she's anti-American, she's anti-capitalist, and yet you have her in photo shoots. I'm not buying it. Okay, this girl has appeared nude before she signed with WWE, and I'm not buying it. And to me, all the praise that she gets, in my opinion, she does nothing. She helps him in terms of being his mouthpiece, but she's like an evil Miss Elizabeth, in my opinion. Miss Elizabeth didn't do anything, and I'm going to get some hate for that. I've got some hate for it already. I'm getting choked up. Maybe some of you folks are hexing me out there right now as we speak. Who knows? But to me, a valet should be more than just eye candy. Sensational Sherry was an amazing, amazing talent, and she did a lot of things right. And when you want to put somebody on the fast track to the big time, you put them with Sherry because she could do a lot for them. Case in point, Shawn Michaels. Sherry was very good. She got involved. She did everything possible to get her guy over without becoming a distraction herself, which is always key for any valet or manager type scenario. You want to do as much as possible to get your talent over without the crowd being stuck and too focused on you all the time. And so Sherry, for me, hands down the best valet of all time. And, anything after that is just sort of going to pale in comparison. There's been a couple of others along the way, but you can make the case for Sunshine, who used to be with Jimmy Garvin back in the days of World Class. But honestly, to me, Sherry's it. She was by far the best of all the valets to this point. And Lana, to me, is just not getting it done at all. So the split's going to come eventually. So John Cena wins United States Championship, got another piece of gold on his arm, and that's how we take away, and that's where we go from that match. The next spot, oy vey, is what I have to say about this. This is the part where fans, start talking about, oh, this is all about Monday Night Raw. This is taking a pay-per-view and turning it into an extended Monday Night Raw, into a 4-hour Monday Night Raw. That's what it felt like because the Authority, Triple H, who just had a very punishing match with Sting, comes out with Stephanie so she can shriek and scream and yell and do all the things that she does. And in my opinion, Stephanie McMahon is the hardest sell as a heel that I've seen since Vicky Guerrero. And I'll catch some heat for that one too, but it's okay. I'll defend it all day long. I appreciate what she does, but at the same time, it annoys me. To me, there's a difference between hate and being annoyed by someone. And not to them. Because to those guys, to WWE Creative especially, any heat's good heat. It doesn't matter. But to me, for me to really hate, I don't hate Stephanie. I don't hate her. Do you know what I mean? I want to hate a heel. I want to hate them. I mean, despise them. And I'm still fully capable of that, but I don't hate her. I know she's playing a role. She talks about on Twitter all the time. I play a bad guy on TV. With the finger in the dimple, and it's just, ooh, look at me. I'm, geez, stop. Just stop. Because you get on WrestleMania and you try to, get over. And to me, maybe it works with the crowd. I'm just not into it, man. I'm not into it. This whole spot, of course, Hunter, should he even have been out there? Whatever happened to kayfabe? Sell the match. Hunter shook hands with Sting and then comes out later to mock him. Really, guys? Is that what we're going to do? But, of course, this whole thing was a setup for The Rock and then eventually to bring Ronda Rousey in so she gets involved. The crowd wanted Ronda to do a lot more to Stephanie than what she did, which is testament to how good Stephanie was on the mic. I'm not going to dispute that she got them riled up and she worked them into a lather, okay? But, the whole time Ronda's there, I'm like, would you please nearly stop smiling every 2 seconds? I know you're probably excited and your heart's racing, but you kind of have a role to play here. Can you maybe stop almost laughing the entire time? Jeez, man, you know what I mean? Sell it to me. Make me believe you're ticked off at this point. You know what I mean? I just didn't feel it. But WWE puts over UFC and not WCW. Let me say that again for those of you who maybe fell asleep. Wake up, please. WWE put UFC over, but not WCW. Isn't that something? Is this a setup for Ronda Rousey and WWE? Are we looking to maybe a year down the road at WrestleMania 32? Is that what we're talking about? I mean, this company has gone from, okay, let's have WrestleMania. Now let's look at the next 6 months. No, now it's WrestleMania. Let's talk about next year's WrestleMania. And it's really become apparent since they did, Rock versus John and booked the match a year out. Then yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a big deal. And when that first happened, that was to me like, wow, really? We're going to do that? But honestly, that's the kind of stuff that's been going on behind the scenes, I'm sure, for a very long time. We just weren't privy to it. But now we kind of expect a match to be set up a year out, which I'm sure it is. Is Ronda going to be at WrestleMania 32? I would say probably so. She might be at SummerSlam this year. She might be at Survivor Series. Who knows? Royal Rumble next year. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see. But I thought the spot went on, let's see, an hour too long. So it was a long time. And, you sort of brought the momentum down from the rest of the crowd, and people were amped to see the next two matches, which were the last two matches on the card, and it was a big deal, and then kind of just deflated the crowd a little bit. But, the spot happened. It did what it did. It got the reaction, I guess, that WWE were looking for, and then we're going to move on to the next thing, okay? Undertaker, the dead man, the Phenom, coming back against the Eater of Worlds, Bray Wyatt. Okay, so of all that can happen, let me get into this really, really quickly here because it's the first thing I saw. I know everyone else saw it too. Of all the things that could happen that we expected to see from Undertaker, did we expect him to look 10 years younger? His hair was dyed and it's growing his hair back out again, which tells me at WrestleMania 32 his hair is going to be long again. Okay, he had the old school gear, the gear that he had when he came back as the dead man from the Big Evil gimmick. Remember when Paul Bearer came back with him? He had that gear on, the leather pants, the singlet. So his hair, the fact he looked 10 years younger, he had good color, the old school gear, his ring work. I mean, he looked great from the opening bell to the end bell. Here's my beef with that is that since WrestleMania happened, I've read some reviews and listened to a podcast in particular where Taker was ripped on and said that he didn't look good, that they didn't like him with hair. Have we really gotten to that point, folks, that we're going to criticize The Undertaker for having hair? Really? Has it gotten to that? Because if so, where's the door? Because I'm leaving. That's just, or you should leave if you believe that. Are you kidding me right now? To me, this was The Undertaker looking like The Undertaker of old. And if the desired response was to get you to believe that he'd somehow managed to turn back the clock and rebound from the loss last year because he looked similar to what he did 10 years ago, you know what? So be it. I'll bite, because that's what I felt the moment I saw him. I didn't have to read a review for someone to tell me that. I didn't have to have someone else in the room suggest to me, wow, he looks great. I thought Taker looked great. And the match being slow, do you know how old Undertaker is? I mean, how fast did you expect this match to be? Was this supposed to be the Luchadors? No, absolutely not. I don't understand why some people can't just be happy with what they're seeing. Now, this comes from a pro wrestling analyst, a guy whose job it is to critique the product and give you his analysis. I break down every match I watch. It's true, whether I'm paid to or not. I break down every match I see. Am I still entertained? Can I still have fun? Absolutely. But mentally, I'm breaking it down. It's kind of what I do. I don't think I could watch a wrestling match without doing it to begin with. It's second nature to me now after all these years, okay? But that doesn't mean I can't sit there and pull some positivity out of the match, dude. I mean, it's not going to happen. I mean, of all the negativity you've heard me espouse about this particular event, how much of it was not, it's not redeemable? How much of it was so heinous that I didn't find something positive out of it? The lengths to which people will go, this is a soapbox moment for you, by the way. I hope you're okay with it. The lengths that some people will go to sound smart are just incredible to me. And in the same breath this person is saying this stuff, he's putting over the monthly subscription fee to his stupid column. Dude, let me just tell you something right now. There is enough information online about the business. Is a lot of it garbage? Absolutely. Is some of it well thought out and well intentioned like yours truly? Absolutely. You have to decide for yourself what you want to digest and what you don't, what you believe and what you don't. That is entirely up to you. But for someone to tell me I have to pay for pro wrestling content, dude, no chance in hell. Okay? It will never happen. Okay? I pay for the network. All right? That's what you're going to get me to pay for. I'm going to pay for a third party to sit there and tell me what they just saw when I watched the same thing they did? Dude, not going to happen. Okay? So if you got people falling for that, if you're one of those guys and you got people and you got money coming in, hey, more power to you, man. I'm not going to dispute how you're making a living. If people are falling for that nonsense, let them fall for it. They're sucker born every minute, right? You're P.T. Barnum? Is that what you are? Congratulations to you. But at the same time, for me, just be smart. Just be entertained. Try to enjoy the product. If you want to take something away from it, take something away from it. You want to read a column like somebody written like from somebody like me, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Thanks for reading. I welcome that. I want that. I want to get your feedback and tell me what you think. That's cool with me. You and I are cool, okay? But if you want to go pay someone for their reactions, sorry, I don't get it. That's like, having to pay the guys at the desk at Sports Center for them before they'll tell you what they thought of the game. Really? You can't just tell me? That kind of stuff kills me. So yeah, for anyone that criticizes Undertaker, if that's your opinion, cool. But to me, from where I'm coming from, I thought it looked good. He did old school off the top rope. I thought Brady was the perfect opponent for him, just like we all knew he would be. I thought they meshed together really well. And all those people, like we just talked about as experts, said he was too old, too tired, too banged up. He couldn't go anymore. That photo was taken of him, I think it was at the airport last year, where he looked like an old man. The minute that photo surfaced online, you know what I said? Give it time, he'll be ready. Everyone else criticized and ripped on the guy. I said, give it time, he'll be ready. And he was, okay? you have to let the know-it-alls have their say so they feel better about themselves. But then at the end of the day, just get on to what matters, and that's watching the match. That's what matters the most. Okay, that's what I did, and I enjoyed it. Huge props to Bray Wyatt, who looked like he belonged with Undertaker. To me, that's the biggest compliment he can get in this one. He fit right in with the Dead Man, not just from a gimmick perspective, but in terms of work and style. I thought the match was entertaining. I thought it was very solid. Taker looked phenomenal physically. His critics, again, to me, they were silent during the course of this match. And he looked to be in rare form. He got the win over Bray, and it was expected. All the talk about the next generation taking over is good, and it's true. But in Undertaker's case, this is about him reclaiming his spot on the company's grand stage and proving he still has what it takes to perform on the main event scene. Now, here's the question. Here's my takeaway. Will this change all the talk about Undertaker as a guy at the end of his career? Is all that going to change now? Well, he's at the end of his rope. He's in the twilight. Because he looked great. Does he feel great? I can't answer that question. Only he can. How did he feel Monday morning after WrestleMania? Was he taking some leave? Was he sleeping in that morning? Did he wake up sore? Probably all the above. But could he possibly want to work more through the calendar year, as a lot of us would love to see him do? Or is he best utilized on the WrestleMania stage? We're just going to leave him to that. We won't see him for another 12 months. This was huge for Bray. This is the bottom line for me. This was huge for Bray. Just being in the same ring with the Phenom is enough to catapult him to the next level. A loss means nothing to Bray. Honestly, I don't see that. Bray could go his entire career without ever winning the belt. I said that from day one. I stick to it. For anyone that disputes that, you're crazy. Bray Wyatt does not need a title to be successful in the industry. He just doesn't. His gimmick does not require him to be a champion anytime soon, if at all. Would it be a very intriguing sight to see Bray Wyatt with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship? Oh my God, can you imagine him carrying that title over his shoulder? Can you imagine? It's thrown over the back of his rocking chair, or on the corner of the rocking chair, and he's rocking it with a microphone, smiling at you. Oh my God, dude. That'd be amazing stuff. I'd love to see that. But, you know, the end of WrestleMania, to me, dictates what's going to happen to Bray as a title contender. And now his status as a possible title contender is up in the air because your boy Seth Rollins walked away with the championship. How did that happen exactly? Let's get to it. This is it, folks. The main event of the main event of WrestleMania 31. Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. It looked very easy for Brock very early on. Can we say that? This is not what I wanted. It's what I kind of thought would happen, but it's not what I wanted. I published a piece for Bleacher Report 2 or 3 weeks before WrestleMania went down, in which I said that Roman should look good, that he should look like he could take care of himself, that he had trained very, very hard for this match. Dude, Brock dominated him. He mauled him. He's a grizzly bear on a chipmunk, man. He just mauled him, honestly. And you know, honestly, I thought it was the wrong move. Because I don't think he did Roman any favors. I thought there should have been more standoff moments where it was like Brock throws a few punches and Roman throws a few back. And maybe Brock actually powders out once or twice and is ticked off and starts throwing the stairs around because he's losing his cool. And then Roman's kind of standing there saying, bring it on, big man, come back in here. Because the perception had been for several weeks, the build-up for this match is what kills me. Because the build-up for this match had been Roman saying, I can and I will. If he can bleed, he can be hurt, he can be pinned. He's only human, despite whatever he says, he's only human. I'm thinking, well, this is the guy that's studying tape. Okay, if this were a legitimate fight, like a UFC event, this guy's studying tape. He's got trainers in his ear saying, here's his weakness, you need to capitalize on it and go for it. And then the match starts and he doesn't do anything. He just gets beat up. Okay, that's what a lot of people wanted because they hate Roman, because people suck and they can't give anyone the time of day unless it's their favorite guy or a heel that shouldn't be cheered. And they got to cheer him because, again, we're all smart wrestling fans, aren't we? But having said that, does Roman deserve criticism? Okay, I'll bite. I will. And why will I? Well, it's very simple because at this point, especially going into WrestleMania, you would think that Roman's weak spots, that his flaws, at this point, he's beginning to learn. He's starting to cover things up. I don't know if I see that from him. So does he deserve criticism on that end? Sure, I'll bite on that and I'll take it all day long. But if you're criticizing him because WWE has shoved him down your throat, don't do that. You see what I'm saying? And I've had debates about this in the past, and I get where the negativity is coming from. I'm not going to hate on anyone for being negative toward Roman. You know, Roman and I aren't BFFs or anything like that. It's just that, to me, when I think about the future of that company, Roman Reigns is in the equation. He headlined WrestleMania 30. Think about this. For anyone out there who thinks he doesn't have it or whatever, the company thinks he has something, man, because he headlined WrestleMania 31. They could put anybody in that spot. They could have talked The Rock into doing it. They could have brought in a name. They could have done anything and they wanted to, honestly. They could have bent over backwards to make Steve Austin happy and have it be Stone Cold versus Brock, the match that never happened. Okay, but they didn't do that, right? Who'd they go with? They went with Roman. Why? Because Roman's young and he's the future. Okay, so hate it all day long. It's fine with me. Go with God. It's cool. At the same time, though, don't hate the guy because WWE is shoving him down your throat. Now that WrestleMania is over, I think that's going to change. I don't think you're going to see the tremendous, outpouring and just all of the constant promotion and all the hype. Because, man, before he won the Rumble, when it became obvious he was going to win the Rumble, and by the way, I said he was going to, like a lot of other people out there did, I said, get ready, because as soon as he wins the Rumble, it's Katie bar the doors, okay? Because it's going to be full-on Roman Reigns 24/7. It's going to become the Roman Reigns Network, and it did, for sure. WWE programming was inundated with Roman. All images of the guy, his face, his matches, all the time. And it just, we expected, not expected that, but we expect that from the guy that wins the Royal Rumble. As long as it's a veteran, you're okay with it. You see what I'm saying? But when it's a guy that's not proven himself just quite yet, it's tougher to take. It's natural to hate Roman. I'm not hating you for hating Roman. Don't misunderstand me here. I'm just saying, at the end of the day, you're going to have to be okay with it or choose to not be. It's fine with me, but he's part of the future of that company. He is. And to me, he proved himself at WrestleMania. He took a beating. Okay, Brock Lesnar came at him, man, with both barrels wide open. Okay, and he gave that kid all he can handle. The test of a pro wrestler, and this is on any level, okay? And these are very subtle things that you will pick up on if you're in the business, and you can see them very early in matches. When people start talking about Roman, he's green, he's this, he's that. What I watch for are those very subtle nuances. When he's in a match and the heel picks him up, how quick is he up? Does he pop up? Does he hesitate? Is he slow to get up to one knee? Or is he quick? In other words, when a heel grabs your head and he starts pulling, that means you better get up, okay? If not, you might get tatered. That's what we call it down south. If you read the terms potato, which Roman got some serious potatoes and Brock did in this match too, down south it's called being tatered. So there's your $2 word for the day. But you might be tatered if you don't cooperate. Okay, Roman is back to his feet very quickly. It's not that he's not trying to sell the move that he just took or sell the match. That's not it. But you have to cooperate with the guy that you're working. You have to put yourself in a position to take the next move. He did that. That's called listening. Okay, Brock was talking to him, or Roman knew what to do in terms of the setup for the move. He took it. Okay, that's the sign of a guy that's been trained. That's the sign of a guy that knows what he's doing. He feeds his head at the appropriate times. Okay, he takes the right amount of heat. He takes the right kind of bump at the right time. He hits the mat the right direction. He does all the little subtle things that set him apart from a guy that is, greener than grass, honestly. That's what we're talking about here, folks. Roman has all those subtle nuances, especially for a big guy. He's very agile, he's very athletic. And to me, that's the mark of a guy that has potential, something to work with, okay? Roman has something to work with. He's a palette, a canvas upon which WWE hopes to create and to paint a top guy. I think he's going to get there. I really do. I think he has the intangibles. Does he still have a long way to go? Absolutely. It's a whole other podcast. Can you sense that? I've done one on Roman, actually. But, it's all about how does he cooperate in the match? He cooperated with Brock. Brock basically went in and said, look, I'm going to kick the crap out of you. Try not to pass out. That legit made me laugh. That was actually good. Sorry about that. I'm my biggest fan. Have you noticed? I've only got a couple really, really good fans out there. You know who you are. I love you. I do. But, blow you a kiss? No? Okay. So, but anyway, it looked very easy for Brock very early on because Roman took the butt kicking to end all butt kickings. And, was that the right move? Should Roman have been more prepared? Hindsight being 2020, it made Brock look amazing. And actually, Roman didn't lose a lot of ground because Roman ended up laying there smiling at him. But the thing is, for me, Reigns could barely mount any offense. Brock shut him down at nearly every turn. The crowd was booing Roman, not allowing the men to tell their story because they hate Reigns. Hating Reigns became more important than getting lost in the drama of the match. It took a long time to get the drama of the match going because people just insisted upon booing Roman. I mean, it's whatever. Roman looked like he could take a beating. He mocked Brock during the match. Again, he smiled at him, telling him to give him more. Okay, what's the final tally here? Roman took 4 F5s. He gave Brock 3 Superman punches. That's a big deal on every level. Neither guy got pinned out of any one of those moves. Okay, Roman showed he could hang with Brock. All looked well in the match until Seth Rollins came down, cashed in, and shocked the world. He capitalizes on Brock's injury from the ring post, which, by the way, was legit color. The day after Mania. Was it a blade job? Why was Brock allowed to blade? It's a blade job. Oh my God, he bladed. He blade plural with an ED. He bladed. Oh my God. Dude, here it is. Frustration sets in for the Tom at this point. Yes, I did refer to myself in the third person. In terms of where I am, location-wise, and we just talked about the word tatered versus the word potato, okay? But here it is. In the time I was in the business, I never heard the word blade job. That's just me. Never. I never heard the words blade. Okay, guys, you're going to blade tonight. Here's your blade. Be sure you blade yourself appropriately. Never heard it. I only heard it until I read it. I read it in some guy's column. It's a blade job. He obviously bladed. We're so smart, aren't we? Aren't we just so smart we have to use terminology we think is appropriate? It's juice. Okay? That's what I was taught that it's called. That's what I still call it to this day. So people have essentially thought Brock juiced intentionally off that post. He used to post a gig off of, and he juiced off that. Okay. None of that is true. Brock did put his hand up, but apparently he caught the post at the wrong angle. He actually did catch the post, and it ripped his head open. Okay, that was legit. That was not juicing. So he got great color, and man, what a great moment for it to happen. You couldn't have written this any better. I mean, honestly, if you had written it apart for Brock to juice, then this would have been it because it was absolutely perfect, man. It was just the right time. He was still okay. And once he hit the post, he started bleeding. Great moment. It reminded me of the Extreme Rules match that he had with Cena when he came back, when he was dominant through the whole match until he took the chain to the head and suddenly it slowed him down. And suddenly he could be touched, and suddenly he could be hit, and suddenly he could fall. And I really thought that was going to spell the end for him in this match. I thought Roman's going over. He's going to get that belt. This pay-per-view is going to end with Roman with the belt, and then maybe Seth cashes in after he has the belt. But it didn't work that way, of course, because Seth came down and made a triple threat match, which I don't think has ever happened in the history of Money in the Bank. And that's what it ended up. Seth Rollins is your new WWE World Heavyweight Champion. What a huge night for that kid. Former ROH champion. And here's a stat for you. Two pay-per-views, 2 WrestleManias back-to-back, 2014, 2015. A former ROH champion headlines and wins the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Isn't that something? And the third behind Punk. Yes? Punk didn't have the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, but he had the world title and the WWE title. So, you could argue and say that there's 3 guys there, right? Okay, so here it is. At the end of the day, WrestleMania 31, what do you give it? Someone asked me yesterday, what do you think, Tom? I said out of 10, I gave it a 7. I gave it a very strong 7, borderline 7.5. It's really hard for me to give any event I watch a 10. I mean, honestly, we're going back to the territory days for me to give like Starrcade. You know what I mean? Like a 10. And it's because I take everything into consideration. But I thought that the effort put forth on all the talent by all the talent. And let's get this said right now before we wrap this up here. Kudos and big ups to all the talent on the WrestleMania 31 card. These guys put forth the work, put forth the sweat equity it took to make you buy in and believe. And I think everyone on the card earned their paycheck. I really believe that. And I think that for these men and women stepping in the ring and put their lives in line to entertain us as wrestling fans, we should be very appreciative of that. Do we spend our hard-earned money to see them? Of course we do. It's our choice to spend money on these guys. So should we demand a great product? I believe that we should. I think we have every right to demand the best product that company can give us. At the same time, I think that when they deserve props, when they deserve credit, they should get all the credit in the world. And I think WrestleMania 31, in terms of all the talent in it, did exceptionally well. And I was very impressed with the effort put forth. So there you have it, folks. WrestleMania 31 is in the books. And we're already talking about WrestleMania 32. What could happen? Will Ronda Rousey be there? Will it be The Rock versus Triple H? Will it be Triple H and Stephanie versus Ronda and The Rock? Who knows? Will Sting be a factor? Could he possibly work Undertaker? Is that match dead in the water now? I mean, what are we looking at for WrestleMania 32? We've got 11 more months to talk about it, don't we? So it's going to be a fun ride, man. It always is, right? Okay, folks, that's going to do it here for this episode of The Main Event. I want to thank you again for tuning in. Please check out my work on BleacherReport.com, on the highly esteemed Camel Clutch blog, whose owner, Eric Gargiulo, recently has signed a deal with FoxSports.com to syndicate some of the work from Camel Clutch. So who knows, one of these days you might be seeing yours truly on Fox Sports. We shall see. But Eric runs a great site. Either way, please go check it out. Very well worth the visit. And then, of course, I also publish for WhatCulture.com. We also can't forget the aforementioned blog that I started, the one for which I do not own the domain name yet because, again, lazy and cheap. TomClarkBR.wix.com/blog. You can also email me at TomClarkBR@yahoo.com. And give me a follow on Twitter. I'm on Twitter, 8 days a week, man. I really am. Kind of obsessed with it. So follow me on Twitter at TomClarkBR, and I shall follow you back. If I don't follow you back immediately, don't cry about it. Just drop me a message and say, dude, what's up? You're ignoring me. Don't ignore me. I love you. So do that for me, and I'll be sure to follow back. And I'm open to debate, man. I'm open to questions. I like the give and go, the catch as catch can, if you will, of pro wrestling debate. So whatever you got, hit me with it. I'm all ears. Okay, that's it, folks. That does it for the main event this time around. Thanks again for listening. Thanks for downloading and subscribing. Please continue to support the columns and check around tonight. If you got nothing to do tonight after you listen to my podcast, of course, and get all subscribed and all that good stuff. If there's some local indie wrestling around, go check out a show. Go check out a live event. Take your kids. It's a fun time. I'm telling you right now, support your local promotion, folks, because local promotions are where the grassroots of the business have always been, where they will always continue to be. Vince McMahon pulls his stars from somewhere. These guys are learning from somewhere. So go support these promotions. Okay, lay down your $10 or whatever it is at the door. Try to be entertained by it. Try to have fun. That's it for me, folks. I'm out. We will see you next time on Tom Clark's Main Event.